So let's move on to
The next conversation.
let's cross the borders to the Pearl of Africa, Uganda.
That's what it's called.
Yeah, Winston Churchill named
Called
it
it
the Pearl of Africa, Uganda.
Did you take history in high school?
No, I didn't. I'm just a lover of history.
You took geography.
Of course.
Can't remember you in my class. Oh, you're not in the same class.
Okay, so we'll cross our borders to Uganda.
Yeah.
We'll talk about MTN Uganda, which is, of course, as a subsidiary of MTN, which is down in South Africa, MTN Group.
Yeah.
So MTN had an IPO of $215 million in the Uganda Securities Exchange.
Yeah.
And we have to mention to our viewers that this is not just an IPO that MTN Uganda decided to do. Rather, this is something that the government of Uganda has said that for companies, the telco companies in Uganda, that they should list at least 20%.
Do you think that will be replicated to the other
USE?
industries?
I think so, but we'll wait and see.
Because what was the faith behind that? What was the intention?
The intention was obviously repatriation of profits.
So
if
then it
the ownership
be
is local,
replicated in other industries.
Absolutely. And we've had
just went
arguments.
to MTN because it was like it was the most profitable company in Uganda.
Okay, they have good profits, but then you also look at, this is something that came in 2019. So they had up to the end of 2021 to comply. So they are just complying right before
last minute
the year ends. And interestingly enough, so this is a requirement. So if MTN does not get to 20%, their telco's license won't be renewed by the Ugandan government. Okay, so that
after this IPO, they have 3 years.
They have 3 years. Now, interestingly, the IPO ended, I think, last week or the week before last week. Now the shares started trading on Monday at the Ugandan Securities Exchange.
Give dates.
Now
Monday. We don't know when
Monday of this week. Oh, Monday of today is 11th. The Monday before 11th. Now, an interesting thing is that they floated $215 million. They didn't get to that. They got to 65%. That was shocking to me. Expected higher than that.
Why?
Now,
why did you expect?
Before I go to why, I'm looking at now, since they got only 65%, they've gotten to 15% of the 20% that they are required to get to by the Ugandan government. But then they've been given a leeway of 3 years. And for me, this is where I find the challenge, okay? When it comes to shares and IPOs, this is not something that you just fulfill it, with a mandatory sort of like wound, so to speak, if you had a mandatory wound for shares. Because this is not masks, or this is not a curfew that you'd institute for everyone. Okay, that, hey, you guys, everyone take MTN shares. So it's a matter of demand and supply and willingness to buy. So what if MTN, due to market forces, never get to 20%. That 20%? Yes, they have 3 years, it's 5%. They might or might not get to it. What if they never get to it? Will you not renew their licenses? Because they've gone, yes, they've done what you've requested. They've gone.
There is intention,
So what if they never get to that?
I had not thought of that.
So that's where I have a challenge with that kind of regulation. But then we'll see how it plays out. 65%. I expected much better. Did you expect 65%?
No. I asked you why. Not because I was disagreeing. Not because I was of the opinion that I expected higher. But I just wanted to get your view. Because look at this. This is not even...
Mine is a perception.
They're not looking at Uganda only. This is East Africa.
Absolutely.
You can still achieve... And in East Africa, you're looking at institutional investors, all these people, you can still get to at least 90%.
But these institutional investors still invested. We had the pension scheme in Kenya still investing.
How much did they invest?
I'm not 100% sure of the numbers, but we had NSSF investing in Uganda.
It was very small percentages. I think NSSF
actually took a big chunk of it, but let me now give my reasons. And my reasons are actually sort of in line with what the CEO of MTN Uganda is giving. I call him Mr. V because I might swallow my tongue trying to pronounce his name, but his first name is Wim. So one of the reasons that they have given as the company, and also SBG Securities, one of the reasons they've given is that there was really, since this was an IPO that was coming in after a long time, since there was another. No, it's been considerably a long time since there was another IPO in Uganda. So IPO has not been a common thing in Uganda. Has not been not common. Has not been a. Has not been frequent.
That is not.
So this is what they are giving actually. So probably people were out of touch with IPOs. Okay, so I'm wondering, where were your marketing addressed? Number two, there was the issue of a lot of investment knowledge and capital markets knowledge. In Uganda, we are also facing the same challenge in Kenya, not as proportional as what is in Uganda. Of course,
in Uganda it's serious.
In Uganda,
how many
it's
traders
much
we
worse.
have in Uganda? Around 40,000 only.
Retail.
All.
Ooh, okay. That's
the people who trade in where? In the Uganda Stock Exchange.
That's not really encouraging.
It's not.
Now I'm looking at that's another reason is they've given that investment knowledge, knowledge of the capital markets and stocks and investing. Now the third reason they've given is a reason that there was a time that a lawyer went to court in Uganda and sued both the capital markets of Uganda and MTN Uganda. And on the basis that the lawyer was saying that this IPO should not go ahead because MTN Uganda was not incorporated in an appropriate way. I know it's laughable. But then the court
is it laughable?
The court dismissed that.
How was it incorporated? What was this lawyer's claim?
I don't know. The lawyer was just claiming that the due process was not followed during the incorporation of MTN Uganda. Okay. Now the court did away with that, with that appeal, with that suit. Now, they're arguing that from an international investment point of view, you'd find large institutional investors in the States or just globally. What happens is that, when they see suits and, people being taken to court and an IPO at the same time, they get uncomfortable. Okay, so that would be one of the reasons why they shied away. And then I'm looking at, coming from an Kenyan perspective, the way we've had bonds, here in Kenya being oversubscribed, both corporate paper and government paper. Our minds are just thinking oversubscription.
Even I-rates are being oversubscribed.
Absolutely. So when we hear of an IPO, we are thinking oversubscription because the market is awash with liquidity. That is the message that we've been getting from all these oversubscriptions. So since we've gotten that the market is awash with the liquidity, we were expecting that, all this money now is going to move to the IPO. There have been arguments that it's been overpriced, but then if you look at the first day that it traded,
it appreciated by 15%.
Absolutely. Now, if you look, that 15% is actually for the whole week. Now, if you look at the first 10 minutes of when it opened, you find that there were more than 50,000 shares being traded.
What does that tell you? First of all, as a big look at the bigger picture of MTN rushing to comply with the government regulation in the last minute. Look at that. Africans not Africans, but Africans liking to do things.
You've remembered that their parent company is South Africa, and now you've said Africans.
I looked at Mr. V and then I was like, should I say African? But anyway, the company is African by name. Start digging deeper, you find it's not African. But let's leave that for another day.
Okay.
Africans are doing things last minute. So this IPO comes, people are wasting time. Then on the last day, that's when now they want to rush to buy shares. What does that do? What does that do? It creates more demand relative to supply. And so the stock price definitely would go up.
I'm one of the people who honestly feel that MTM should have extended the time for this IPO.
So they should have started.
I feel if they would have extended the time, we would have seen a much better results.
It's the same people who like doing things last minute.
This was running parallel. This was running parallel with an IPO down in Windhoek in Namibia. So there's a company called MTC
I'm struggling to see the correlation, bro.
No. It's a telco.
So
Okay, it's largely government owned.
Yeah.
It's a telco in Namibia. Okay, the largest telco in Namibia.
Yeah.
That was also doing an IPO. What they were looking for, they were floating $212 million, $3 million
From the same
shy
market?
of.
From the same market?
Not from the same market.
Then
just
how
from
relevant is
Namibia.
it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at this,
Yeah.
I'm looking at this IPO that are running concurrently, and the one in Namibia, MTC, they were able to float 81. They were able to get 81% subscription. So I'm looking at, this is MTN Uganda should have gotten a much higher percentage than that. But then there has been, this is an argument that people have been making, in the capital market scenes about the comparison with the MTC in Namibia. But then one thing that people haven't noted in this argument
MTN, MTC, is there any?
No correlation.
Okay.
In fact, the one in Namibia is largely government owned.
Okay.
So one thing that people haven't noted in this whole argument is the fact that if you look at from an international investment space point of view, you find that MTN Uganda has 53% of the market share in Uganda, while MTC has 90% plus
Market
in
share.
Namibia. So that would also be a big factor when it comes to investing in the two companies.
Keegan, you've not answered me. These are two different IPOs running
Yes,
concurrently.
I understand.
Agree. Different markets.
Still in Africa.
No, being in Africa is just geographical.
Yeah, I mean we were comparing it, because it's
MTN
the reason
IPO
why I
was
was
being
comparing,
advertised in East Africa. Now,
but it was also open to international investors.
so you think they were
It's
running
just
for
that
the same money?
we were given priority.
Were they running for the same money?
No, okay. Let me justify why I was
Please,
comparing.
please,
I was simply comparing because it's the same sector. Okay, still in the sub-Saharan African region.
Yeah.
So based on those two factors is why I was comparing. It's a telco. Both are in sub-Saharan Africa. Simple.
But I felt like you saying that to the effect, or to try and explain why MTN Uganda was undersubscribed.
Because when you're an investor and you're sitting in Beijing or you're sitting in Tokyo, when you look at Africa, and the way even reports are generated for
when
Africa,
you start mentioning
sub-Saharan Africa is a
when
block.
you start mentioning a farm in Beijing or Tokyo, looking at Africa, where two IPOs are happening at the same
Absolutely.
time, then you mean that these
sector?
two IPOs were competing for the same money, which I asked you before. You were like, no.
Okay.
Plus,
on
how
the
much-
international space,
what's
of
the
course,
share?
they were competing for the same money.
Okay, yeah. No, if you say that, then it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, then I get you, because before I wasn't getting where you're headed.
Yeah, because I mean, it would only make sense, if you're an investor, a retail investor in Windhoek. I mean, for you, it would be much easier, in terms of reach or in communication and also access to invest in the telco, to put your money in the telco at the bows in Namibia than in Kampala. You see? Yeah. So it's
Kwanza, could you even buy the one in Kampala?
Yes, you would.
As a retail investor, as a retail investor.
Yeah, you
No,
can.
as an institutional investor.
You can't.
I don't think so.
Okay, I'll find out and bring that start of the year.
Plus priority, you look at the priority that they had.
No, you can. I mean, it's
priority
just the
list
same
they
way
had.
that today. In fact, this is shout out to HISA.
Yeah.
They launched their app,
Super
so
app. Yeah.
now you can invest in Nasdaq and NYSC from the convenient of your bed sitter in Kino. You can easily do that. Download the HISA hub. Shout out to Eric and the team who are doing a brilliant job there. So it's the same way that now Easter you can invest in Facebook,
Now
or
is
in
the
Johnson
time.
and Johnson that
Now
is
is the
listed
time.
in Nasdaq.
Now
okay,
is the time.
So I mean, guys in Namibia, of course, could have done the same for in Uganda.
But they don't have HISA.
HISA will expand, of course, to the whole of Africa. We hope great stuff going on there.